Let me begin my comments with just a few words about the Cold War. The Cold War was a dangerous period in our history where problems abounded. A mistake could have resulted in a nuclear war. But the Cold War had one advantage. We knew what the strategy was. We argued mightily over tactics, but we were always able to come back to what is it we're trying to do. And it was contain the Soviet Union until such time as it changed. And that helped enormously in getting us through the Cold War. With the end of the Cold War, that cohesion largely disappeared. But shortly thereafter, we were subjected to globalization, the blending of many worldwide trends of technology, trade, other kinds of things, and with it, an undermining of the Westphalia structure of most of the world's nation-state systems. The Westphalia system was created really in the 17th century after the 30 Years' War and the devastation it had caused. It made the nation-state the element of political sovereignty in the world, totally independent, totally on its own, each one, all equal technically. It was a tough system, and for many have claimed it was responsible for World War I and World War II, but it is basically the structure of our nation-state system today as modified in the Westphalian system, because the United States has spent much of its national interest focus softening the harsh independence of the Westphalian system, like the United Nations, like laws that apply to everybody, like bringing us together rather than having these unique cubicles who are law in themselves but don't relate outside. And now we have something new to confuse the international system, and it's called globalization. And two aspects of it are particularly difficult to manage in this Westphalian world, because globalization says that modern technology, modern science, and so on is pushing the world together. And the Westphalian system says, nonsense. We're all unique, separate, sovereign. Two of the globalization experts are particularly intrusive, if that's the right word. One is communications, and another, in a different way, climate change. Communications is connecting the world and connecting people to the world like never before in history. For most of history, most of the people of the world didn't participate in the politics of their system, didn't participate in anything except their daily lives. And they were just like their parents. They expected their children to be just like them, on and on and on. Well, now they're surrounded by information. And they're responding, they're reacting to it. It's not that kind of a world at all. I'm not just chattel for the boss down the street to use any way he wants. I'm a human being and I have dignity. And this is sweeping throughout the world and altering our system in ways that it's difficult for us to cope with. We have been at the forefront in liberalizing the Westphalia system, in making a more just world for all. To help us in this difficult task, we should look to our alliances, especially NATO. I think NATO, in many ways, is as valuable as it was during the Cold War. In a world where the relationship of the individual to the state is frequently under attack, an alliance of states to whom that personal relationship to the state is sacred is valuable. And NATO has many areas where it can deal with these new forces on us in a cooperative way which negates the independent sovereignty and atomizing the world. To help us in this difficult task, we should look to our alliances, especially NATO. I think NATO, in many ways, is as valuable as it was during the Cold War. In a world where the relationship of the individual to the state is frequently under attack, an alliance of states to whom that personal relationship to the state is sacred is valuable. And NATO has many areas where it can deal with these new forces on us in a cooperative way which negates the independent sovereignty and atomizing the world. The impact of globalization on communications seems most dramatic in the Middle East, where the impact of the Arab Spring was very heavy and still very much being felt. It's brought Sunni-Shia differences to acrimony and even combat. And the ISIL issue in Syria and Iraq is an excellent example of the devastation that communication can create in the nation-state system. It's attempting to transform a political state systems into a caliphate or religious order. And I don't think the nation-state system is under gross attack, but this is a new and very different development which could be dangerous or painful for all of us.